Hello everyone, I'm Susan Lee MacDonald and welcome back to my show, The Interview. I'm here on the beautiful campus of the Seoul Institute of the Arts and I'm so looking forward to meeting my very special guest today. She is the multi-talented, award-winning novelist, Helie Lee. Now this woman is absolutely extraordinary. She's devoted her life to education and helping people who otherwise wouldn't be able to help themselves. And she's done so many different things, you're going to find out a lot about this incredible woman. So let's get to meet Helie Lee for The Interview.
Helie, thank you for coming. People think I'm crazy sometimes.
What did you do? Did you get up at a certain time every day?
I don't sleep. You know, I was born in this country. We're bringing, I believe, 120 American crew members to Korea. I think they thought maybe, oh my God, we did not realize how advanced this country is.
Picture postcards, summer fun, carefree laughter in the sun. But this is the sound.
Helie Lee, it's a pleasure to have you on The Interview. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you. I'm so excited to meet you.
Me too. So I'm here to find out all about who you are because you are just an incredible lady. You've done so much in your life. Documentary filmmaking, you've been a novelist, you've been a producer, you've got so many very interesting things that you've done in your life, and I'm sure that our audience would really love to hear about your story, and that's why I have you here. So how would you describe yourself?
I would say I'm an artist, I'm a writer, I like to think of myself as an innovator. I'm a bit crazy sometimes because of the ideas that I come up with. But I'm also a mother, a teacher, a mentor, and I think that's what I love so much about this phase in my life is I get to mentor, I get to teach, not only my children, but also students, and it's something that I've always had a passion for.
That sounds like a lot of work,
it's
but
a lot
fun.
of work. It's a lot of work, but you know, I always take on challenges. People think I'm crazy sometimes, but when I see potential, I go for it, and I usually don't have any regrets. So
Helie, what brings you to Korea this time?
Many things. I was born in this country. I'm always drawn to this country. My heart, my stomach is always drawn to Korea. But this time in particular, we came out here because my husband produces a TV show in the States, and so I have been begging him to bring his show to Korea for years, and finally we brought it to Korea, and also being the director of Cultural Hub LA, which is a hub of Seoul arts here. I've helped bridge a relationship between my husband's TV show and Seoul art, and to do a sort of production.
I see.
And also to expose my wonderful students at the school to an amazing American international production company that's a multi-million-dollar production company, because it's what a great, awesome experience for them.
Absolutely.
And also for, to bring, we're bringing, I believe, 120 American crew members to Korea to see my birth country and the country of my parents and grandparents. And I want them to have a wonderful experience and to capture this country and show the world how beautiful Korea is.
So now this show that your husband produces is none other than the America's Next Top Model.
I think we could say that because now it's out. Yes, he's the executive producer of America's Next Top Model. He co-produced it and with Tyra Banks, who's the talent on the show. You wanna be on top. Wanna be on top.
Hi, ladies.
Hi guys, welcome to the Christos Salon. Hello. Really hot and really beautiful. It's about how you feel inside. I pretty much always have had long hair. But that was the old me. Because you have a lion's mane, I think we need to just work the lion mane.
Lisa.
Tyra is a true and lovely person in friendship with my husband, and she's actually also the godmother of my twins.
Oh,
and
sweet.
I'm so happy that they're all here, and they'll capture Korea for the rest of the world to see what an amazing 21st century country this is, and how advanced, how creative, how innovative, how on top of social networking this country is. So it's been a joy.
What have been some of the comments that people have made about being in Korea?
How modern it is, no doubt. You know, we're thinking pagodas, you know, hanboks on the street, ajumanim cooking on the street. Well, you do see that, but I love that part. You know, because they've been to Thailand, Japan, China, Macau, Hong Kong. They've been to all these places, and they have not been to Korea. So I think they thought maybe Korea would be like one of those other countries, Asian countries. But when they got here, they said, oh my God, we did not realize how advanced this country is. And it puts us to shame because our internet service is so slow in the States. You know, everything is so fast here.
Absolutely. So Helie, you've done quite a lot to share Korea with the rest of the world, with your books, with your documentary, with just your one-woman show, and with also working with the educators in the States, the cafe that you've done, and this phase where you're bringing the America's Next Top Model crew here, you know, via, of course, your husband and whatnot. Why do you feel so strongly about sharing Korea with others?
I think I've been very fortunate in my life. I feel very confident, very loved. I feel like the present and the future is open to me, and my confidence level comes from where I come from. And I never knew that when I was growing up in the States. We left Korea when I was 4 years old. We went to Montreal, Canada for 1 year, and then we moved to the States in LA when I was 5, 6. And growing up at such a young age abroad and looking different and being outside of Korea at a time when, you know, being different, being Asian was not popular. And I struggled with my identity for many years, and it was very painful, and I always tried to deny my parents, deny my legacy, deny my hair color, my skin color, my eyes. I did everything to erase the fact that I was Asian, Korean. It wasn't until I became much, after college and traveled back to Korea, after I graduated from UCLA, did I realize that I was doing a disservice to myself and to my family. Why was I running away from such an amazing culture, from an amazing group of people? And so that's when I really started delving into my family's stories and Korean history and culture and traditions. And I love it. It makes me who I am today. And I want my children to have that foundation, even though they're a little Korean, a little this, a little that, like the new generation of children today. But when you know where you come from, you feel like you have amazing wings, and they'll be able to fly wherever they want to go.
You started this journey of kind of self-realization and finding out like your true identity of who you are, that kind of groundedness within you, by writing your first book, right? The Still Life with Rice. So tell us about that story. It's a fascinating story.
Thank you. Still Life is odd as an author, because as a writer, because it's sort of a memoir. Then it transitions into a biography about my grandmother, but it's written in a novel style so that it's easier to digest. God forbid, reading all those history books in school and just being bored to death. And I didn't want people to be bored about Korea. So I wanted to tell the story through my eyes and also through my Harmony's eyes, my maternal grandmother. And through her journey, she was born in 1912, to her life in Korea, in China, during the Korean War, after the Korean War, and immigration into America. My readers get to see what Korea was all about within one book.
And so while you were writing this and preparing this, did your grandmother know that you were going to be writing a book?
Nobody knew I was writing a book. They thought I just came back from Korea after sojourning back. After college, I decided to go to Korea for 1 year to learn the culture, learn the history, and then after I came back, I started to talk to my grandmother, and on almost a daily basis. I think she thought I was stalking her.
In person?
Yes. She was like, why are you over here again? I was like, I just want to know your stories. And so I started writing it down. I had no intentions of publishing it because I was too 창피해 of my writing, too embarrassed. But I started writing it thinking that I would give it to my younger brother or my cousins in hopes that they would read it, so they would be spared from this horrible journey that I went through myself of trying to erase my past. So I thought I could maybe write 15, 20 pages. In college I wrote 20 pages. It nearly killed me, but I thought I could do it again. So I started writing, and when I was finished I had 500 pages.
That's incredible.
And I did it within like 3-4 months, and I was shocked. And from that manuscript became my first book, Still Life with Rice.
So Helie, I heard that Still Life with Rice became a bestseller and sold over 500,000 copies.
Oh, really? Yay!
Yes. And as you said earlier, is a text in a lot of schools. How do you feel that now your story is being read by students and just regular folks too?
So joyful, because my grandmother passed away about 10 years ago, and her memory is still kept alive. I have kids, teachers emailing me, sending me letters about my grandmother, and I feel her presence is still so strong. And it's great that an Asian woman, a Korean woman, is a hero for a lot of these Caucasian students in America. And when she passed, I got so many flowers and messages. I didn't realize her story had touched that many people, and she continues to make an impact. It's interesting because actually a portion of my book, Still Life, is in the PSATs. It's like the SATs. And so my cousin, she was like 15, she was taking the test, and she called me, she goes, I got an A! They wrote Harmony's story in the test, so I got the A.
That's so funny.
That's great.
Now, you have probably met a lot of people who've been impacted by the story of your grandmother. And do you ever wonder what would have happened had you decided not to write that, or didn't have the courage, or maybe felt discouraged because people said, oh, you're not a writer, you can't do that. You only got a B in English class.
I often think about that, what would I have been had I not been given the gift of the story from my family? I think I probably would have lived in a very small box. I probably would have gotten married very young, had my children very young, and then at 35 thought, what now? For other people, I'm not saying, getting married at 25 is a bad thing, because, it works for people. But for me, I think I would have felt something about me inside would have probably been a little bit dead. I still have that spirit that is the spirit of my mother and my grandmother, and I would not have been happy with that. So because of them, I have this amazing life.
Yeah. How does the book end?
The book ends, it doesn't have an ending, my first book, because it ends with my grandmother wondering what had happened to her lost son, who she lost during the Korean War. And lost is such a painful word because lost means how. My grandmother did not know what had become of him, whether her son died during the Korean War, had been captured by North Korean soldiers, what have you. She had no clue. And so I ended the book like that, her wondering, her aching, her looking at herself in the mirror, looking at this old Haimani's face, and thinking about all the regrets and how history had been very painful to her and her people. And then I remember the people would call me and email me and say, how can you end the book like that? What happened? I can't sleep. And I said, I'm glad you can't sleep. Because my grandmother has not slept since the Korean War. And so I want you to remember her suffering, even for one day, and I'm grateful for that. But I never thought there was going to be an ending to that story. But several years later, you know, we found my grandmother's son, who she lost during the Korean War at the age of 16.
Wow.
We found him in North Korea. And in 1997, almost 50 years after the Korean War, I was with my father. We were able to rescue my uncle and 8 members of his family from North Korea, bring them through China. Half of them came out through Hanoi, Vietnam, and the other half came out through Mongolia. And the South Korean governments accepted them as refugees into this country.
So the fact that you were able to find your family, for one, is amazing. And to get them out of the country at that time when, right now, there are so many more defectors who come to South Korea at great risk. But that time, can you tell us how that all came about? Like, how did you find the family there, and how did you bring them out of the country?
Well, it was interesting. When North Korea was really suffering at the time of massive famine.
With the floods and all that.
My Haimani had been writing to her son in North Korea since the Korean War, since the armistice was signed in 1953. So she was writing letters to North Korea.
But how was she sending them to?
Via ambassadors, politicians, anybody who had access into North Korea. And we know there aren't that few people, but she sort of found out who got into that country, so she would send letters. And apparently one of those letters actually got into somebody's hand and decided to deliver it to my uncle in North Korea, but also to pressure him to get money from his relatives in America because North Korea really needed it. And so, but my Haimani was never sure if this was really her son because it was so laced with propaganda and this and that, and please send me a tractor, please send me a refrigerator, please send me money, like all these things, you know. So my grandmother was not 100% sure. When my first book, Still Life with Rise, was published in the States, then it got translated here in Korea. A very mysterious, interesting man who does work along the China-North Korea border. He approached our family and said, I read your book, and I think I could help your family be in touch with your uncle in North Korea.
That's craziness. Wow.
Right? Apparently, because he lived very close to the border of China and North Korea. Had he lived in Pyongyang or further south, it would not have been possible. But because he lived right near the border, he thought he could make contact with my uncle, which he did. And then he assisted us in helping rescuing them from that country. But at first we didn't know how many people there were. And then when we found out there was 9 people total, my uncle was 62 at the time. He looked like he was 92.
Wow.
So frail from the famine and torture and all of the stuff that he had experienced in North Korea. And also there was a 1-month-old baby and my cousin just gave birth. So there was a lot of factors that we had to take into consideration.
Now, let me just kind of stop you right here. Your grandmother, upon finding out that her son that she left and lost when he was 16, and finding out that he's alive and able to come, what was her reaction?
You would think she would do jumping jacks or like flip-flops or something, but my Haimani was very calm. The the knowledge that he was in fact alive all of these years since the Korean War, and she had missed his life from 16 to 62 was heartbreaking. And she knew that probably he had been tortured, that he had suffered so much because he was the only one left behind. And also they were Christians at that time, so she knew, and rich landlords, so she knew he had suffered tremendously under the communist system. So she was heartbroken knowing that perhaps her son thought that his mother had abandoned him all these years. And she just wanted him to know that she never stopped searching for him. And that was the one message she wanted to give him. And, you know, and I promised, my Harmony was very sick at that time, so I promised her I would help her. And you know who's the true hero in this whole rescue mission was my father. He is the son-in-law. You know, I think in Korean culture, so much of the way things are is when you marry into the family, the wife marries into the family, you do a lot of, you know, sebe and, you know, service to the husband and his side of the family. But my father, being the son-in-law, really serviced my grandmother. He put his life on the line. He almost bankrupted our family, you know, it was not cheap rescuing people from North Korea.
How much did that actually cost you all?
It cost us, gosh, at that time over $100,000 and a lot of trips back and forth. My father luckily was retired, but my mother had to keep working to, you know, help fund this and stuff. And my father just said, whatever it takes, whatever the cost, we're going to help Harmony rescue her son. And so I want to acknowledge my father for being this amazing son-in-law.
What a rock he was to be able to do that for your family. And had he not made those sacrifices, it sounds like many members of your family made many different sacrifices.
But isn't that the Korean way?
Yeah, it sure is. Yeah,
I think that is the heart of what makes this country so great. Is we give so much of ourselves to the people that we love, and also to this country. You know, have you during, you know, the soccer tournament, the Olympics, Korea goes crazy because people are so proud, and you get it, you know.
Yeah, Koreans are extremely nationalistic, and there's such a pride for being from this country. And so with what you were saying earlier about, you know, sharing Korea with educators back in the States and speaking about it, writing about it, you know, sharing in very different ways, you know, even though you're a U.S. citizen, you're also very much
I don't
Korean.
think sometimes Koreans in this country realize how not nationalistic, how proud Korean Americans are of their heritage. You know, my parents left in '69, but they continue to support. Whenever there's a tragedy, they send money. They always they vote in America based upon the politics of Korea. So our loyalty is very deep. But sometimes I feel like Koreans don't acknowledge that here in this country. We are essential for Korea's international growth.
As Korean Americans.
Yes. Korea's growth, Korea's branding internationally. We are Korea's best ambassadors.
Now, tell us a little bit about your second book.
Second book sort of came out very organically like the first book. And the second book is called In the Absence of Sun, S-U-N. In the absence of suns means lack of light, which I think represents North Korea. And it's also the absence of my Harmony's son. And it tells the story where still life ends. In the absence picks up the story and our rescue mission of my uncles from my uncle and his family from North Korea.
What was the response when you finally had that published and people read that?
It came out, nothing happened. And I was so depressed. My Harmony just died, and I thought I'd let my Harmony down. She really wanted this book published, more so than the first book, because she didn't know that was even happening. And I thought I'd let her down. I thought I'd let my family down. I thought I'd let all these North Korean refugees in China down. But one day I was watching Oprah, And I was like cursing her out. How dare you not call me for your book club? This is such an important book. She calls me.
Really?
Not her, but her producer calls me. And she goes, is this Helie Lee? And I said, yes. And she goes, I'm a producer from the Oprah show. I jumped out of my bed because I was depressed, so I was in my bed, at 3 o'clock in the afternoon in my bed, in my pajamas. I jump out of the bed, screaming, and then I think, oh my God, what if she's trying to give me a free ticket to the show? So
wow.
I said, should I be screaming? And she goes, yes.
Helie's adventure in her book, In the Absence of Sun.
She invited me and my parents to the show, and after that, my book just went crazy. Wow.
I think I'm going to like being a guy. It's kind of fun, to see if I can pull it off, to see if I can be believable. Okay, here we are.
I'll give it right back. It ain't about that. Oh no. Baby, when you touch me, I get the love that I need. Wanna give it right back.
It seems so bizarre that such a beautiful feminine woman like yourself could actually be mistaken for a man. I mean, you were dressed as a man, and the makeover was pretty incredible. And why did you decide to do this, and what were you trying to show through this documentary?
As a writer, I never plan out my next project. I sort of let life guide me. And when a door opens, I go through it. After I helped rescue my relatives from North Korea, I came back to America, and I was very embittered because I was happy that we rescued my relatives, but I was upset because every time I went to Asia, China, to deal with, guides, translators, people who were driving our relatives, because I was unmarried, I was in my 30s, I was a female, I was completely disrespected and disregarded. They would not listen to what I had to say. They would just say, just sit down, be quiet, be a good girl. I'm like, really? And I felt so upset and angered by that whole experience. So when I came back to the States, I thought, it's a shame that I was not a son on this rescue mission. Had I been a son or a man, they would have listened to my opinion, and I swear to God, we could have done the rescue mission a little bit faster. Wow. But because I was not these things, I was often treated like a woman child. And then also what they would talk about me not having a baby, it was just too much, And so when I went to the States, I thought, I wonder what it feels like to be a man. And so I thought, if I could help rescue 9 people from North Korea, I could certainly become a man. How hard could that be, right? So I thought, if he could do that, I certainly could become a man. So I cut my hair, changed my clothes. I moved out of my home into another location where nobody knew me, and I lived as a man for 6.5 months. I scarred it up a little bit just to give it that masculine.
Well, for one thing, let me tell you something. When you move your head like this, you have so much grace. You have too much grace. You're too graceful.
Okay, so more like...
That's better. I gotta tell you.
Yeah.
But stop smiling. That's better.
I learned a lot about men. I am not an expert on men because I am not a man, but I saw things through my female eyes that made me so humble and so appreciative of men and so appreciative of that God had blessed me as a female,
That you were born as a woman,
as a female.
Wow.
But it is not easy being a man. And I saw my father's life through my eyes, and I saw my brother's life through my eyes. And I really commend them for the life that they lead.
So did you necessarily start this out as like an artistic endeavor, or more as you wanting to kind of show yourself and the world that you need for people to kind of take another listen to what you have to say?
I never think that I'm going to write something or do something artistically that's going to have an impact, or that people are going to even be interested in buying it, you know. I do it because I feel like I have to resolve something internally. The great thing about being an artist or a writer is it's great therapy.
Yeah.
You work out your issues. And I was so upset and angry that I knew I had to figure this out, because it was this big rock in my chest. And I wasn't going to be able to progress spiritually, emotionally, unless I dealt with it. So I decided to take the bull by the horns and just live the life that I wanted. And in the end, I realized that is not the life I wanted.
And they all knew that you were doing this project?
No,
right?
no one knew.
No one knew?
Because I knew if I told my family or my friends, they would think I'm crazy and they would try to stop me. I told a couple of my really close girlfriends. They thought I was crazy, but they were so intrigued. They're like, okay, do it, you know? But they didn't think I was going to actually pass as a guy, because, yes, I do look like I'm very feminine. And that was one of the most difficult things, was to transition. From Helie, I went from looking totally feminine to somebody who was a lesbian, a very dykish woman, and then I went to someone who was who was genderless, and then I went to a gay man, and then finally I just transitioned into a man. You know?
Wow.
So it took a long time to make it from here to here. I thought the moment I cut my hair and changed my clothes, ba-boom, I would be a guy, but that was not that was very arrogant to think that was going to happen like that.
Like me, can you be macho like me? Macho like me.
Hi, my name is Helie. Thank you for coming. I pound buttons, jerk knobs. There are plenty of successful, happy, unmarried women out there.
Macho like me. Can you be macho like me? Macho like me. Can you be macho like me? Macho.
You also did a one-woman show. Right?
Yes.
And I'd love to hear a little bit more about that.
Well, it was out of the living as a man, documenting everything. And then I put, like I said, I put it in the closet. I lived my life, I got married, and then once I got married, I was telling my husband, who's a TV producer, about this thing that I did. He goes, that is so weird. That is so interesting. He goes, do you have the footage? And I said, yes, I'm not going to show it to you, because then if I show it to you, you might divorce me. Because I was such an ugly guy, right?
Well, that's a good thing, right?
And so I would show him the footage. He goes, this is really interesting stuff. And then, so I started writing little bits about it, and then I would go to book signings, and then they'd say, what are you working on now? I said, well, I'm not really working on it, but I did this project, and I started talking about it, and people said, oh my God, that's so interesting. Can we see your footage? And so I started showing people my footage, and through that, it just became longer and longer and longer, and then next thing I knew, I had this documentary. But I didn't want to just do a documentary, because I felt like my talents lie as being a storyteller. So I wanted to do a live narration in cooperation with the video footage. And it's very old school, I thought. And so people are like, you can't do that. I'm like, yes, I can. I hate when people tell me I can't do something. So I was like, yes, I can do that. I could show the documentary and I could narrate it. And so I did it, and it was so much fun. Theater is awesome. I see why these students at Soul Arts want to be theater. Some of them want to be theater majors, because you get instant gratification. Your audience is there with you if it's a good show, and your senses are totally alive when you're on set.
And not having been an actress or really trained in that, did you feel that the story alone was strong enough that it didn't really matter, that people still were able to relate?
I knew I was a good speaker, and I knew I was a powerful speaker. So I thought maybe if I tweaked that a little bit, and the story again was going to speak for itself. The story must be the center point of everything. You know, a painting, what is a story? You know, if you have a story that touches people, that's going to stand out. So I knew I could only do so much, and then it was going to be the story that elevates that the project, and that's what happened. But then as time, you know, I'm a perfectionist. I sort of kind of figured it out. I hired a really good African American theater director who directed a Jewish woman's one-woman show. I saw it. I was moved that he was able to transcend the culture. And so I asked him to come on my project, and he loved it. And he said, "No, I can't work on your project. I just don't have time." And I begged him. I said, "Please, can you just read my script?" He read it. He said, "You know what? I'm going to do your project."
Wow. How did it feel when he said yes?
I said, "Yes." But you know, in my life, if I feel like I believe in something, I believe I can move mountains. And I wanted children so badly, and I believed, even at an older age than most women, you know, are having their children in high school. I believed it could happen to me. And so that's...
Where do you think that belief in yourself, that faith that you
my parents,
can do?
My parents, my culture, this country. I am nothing without my family, and I am everything because of my family. I think that is so true for a lot of Koreans as well. And like I said, I wake up every day in gratitude for the life that I have been given. I am in gratitude of my black hair, which is sort of like brown now because I lost the sun. I'm grateful for my eyes, my skin. I'm grateful for looking Asian when I was not before, when I was younger. During my visit here to Korea this time, I am so moved by the fact that my children, my 4.5-year-old twins, are here with my parents. So 3 generations have come back to Korea to experience it together. My favorite Korean food is kimchi jjigae with like the big fatty pork that the ajumanim comes and she cuts it with the scissor and then it cooks in front of you. The advice I would give to other Asian Americans is that you must understand where you come from, where your parents come from, and where your grandparents come from. We are part of many generations. Life did not just start with your generations. You have to really consider the generations before you, and then when you understand that, do you have power and strength and confidence? And again, I am a testimony of that.
We are here at the Seoul Institute of the Arts University, and you're now working as a professor and also director of the Culture Hub. Tell me about that. That sounds like an interesting position.
I'm very grateful for the opportunity. I was asked by President Chiu to meet with him and to discuss what I do in Los Angeles. And pretty much as an artist, I also, being an educator, I connect people. And having been raised in LA for most of my life, and also being married into the industry, my husband's in the TV business. I started off in the TV business. And so he thought, wouldn't it be wonderful to have a cultural hub LA and brand ourselves in LA. Cultural Hub LA actually started off in 2009. We also have a Cultural Hub New York. And that's where I've existed for the last 10, 15 years. And so they've asked me to come on board to use my connections, my experience to further bridge between LA entertainment industry and here in Seoul. And also hopefully with New York as well, and do interchangeable, artistic, innovative projects. So we'll see.
This is an art school in Gyeonggi-do Province. Helie, who has been collaborating with them on the Culture Hub project and teaching their students through video conferencing, paid a visit.
Hi everyone, 안녕하세요. I'm here to observe a theater class, an acting class. I'm really excited about that. I've had some background in that, unfortunately. And so this is Professor Juno, and she's taking me to the class.
Okay. What are you guys going to talk about today?
We're going to just observe the acting class and see if we could assist in any way.
Yeah, and then introduce some of the Culture Hub program in LA.
Yes. I'm here as the director of Culture Hub LA, so I'm here to observe everything on Seoul Arts Campus. And the more I know, the more I can take back, and a better exchange program we can have.
Upon arriving on campus, she went straight to meet her theater students. This was an active class, with students required to use their bodies, and it ended earlier than usual. This was because a Q&A session was in store for Helie and her students.
Oh my gosh. I hope to see some of you in something.
The students were very eager to speak to their multi-talented instructor in person, and Helie seemed equally as excited to share her experiences as a stage director and actress with them.
Or a director.
I'm kind of confused in what should I start in U.S. for first step.
I would say you need friends. So you need to take acting classes and meet friends, and they all kind of go together, and through that acting class you'll hear of another acting class. That's how you build your community and get your information. 10 years you'll be, 20.
They have a tendency to limit themselves as actors in Korea, but I think it's like the world now. So I wanted her to come in and just show them different perspective and talk about how it's done really, They don't know how to get out, So I wanted her to sort of tell them, the students, how the professionals work and what kind of opportunities there are.
Helie! Hey, what's up? Come on in.
I love your new house. Your
Bachelor
apartment.
pad.
Where's your family?
They're coming in the summer.
I love the music.
Oh, thank you.
What is this festival? The louder the better.
She also met with composer Woody Buck.
Well, actually,
These two have known each other since they were back in the States.
So I don't know, should we talk about that?
Do you find the way you compose music as a Korean American versus how they compose music here in Korea, is it different?
The technique isn't that different. I mean, just how you do it. But I think what I have discovered with young students, culturally, like Korea is so homogenous, how they educate themselves and how they have people develop. So I've really found it necessary to say, hey, think out of the box right away.
Can you guys tell me how you two know each other?
Woody and I are NetCal fellows. NetCal is a network of Korean American leaders in Los Angeles. It's with USC. We became fellows together.
Same class.
Same class 3. And when I got the position as the director of Cultural Hub Los Angeles, Woody was offered the position to be the director of the music department here and revamp Namsan's sound studio, correct? Yeah. And so we got accepted at the same time. We did our applications at the same time. And so here we are. So it's nice to see a friend, a colleague now here in Korea. Well, I think there is nobody like Woody in the sense that everybody likes Woody. I'm sort of questionable sometimes. Everybody likes Woody. And he's multi-talented. Not only is he talented, but I hear that he's a great father and a husband. He's just a really wonderful guy, and Seoul Arts is very lucky to have him.
So what do you think about her?
Ooh, well, this is going to be long. No, I have so much respect for Helie. She's done so much as an artist. I remember seeing her documentary where she really took a huge risk by becoming a man, and I was just like, what isn't there that she doesn't explore, and as an artist, as kind of, for me, being a sort of a born-again artist, seeing the work that she's done over the years has been really inspiring, and she's kind of like my Nuna role model, like.
I thought I was your 동생.
Oh, I mean, right.
Darn!
I'm oppa, right?
As the director of the Culture Hub Los Angeles, Helie plans to give Korean students a special chance to experience Hollywood in person. I hope she continues to build a bridge between the two worlds and help us connect with one another.
Teaching students here in Korea for the short time that you are here, I'm curious what you've experienced and what you think about Korean students.
They're so charming. I'm such a mother. Like, I see all the students, I think, oh, they're like my kids. They're like my little chickies, you know? I get so emotionally involved and attached to them, and I'm so proud of them. Even though, you know, my Korean is terrible and we have this major language difficulties, but I see their eagerness, and I just want them to do their best. You know, I have interns from Seoul Arts coming to LA, about 7 of them. They're going to be coming to LA in April, and they're going to be spending the whole 4 months there working for an American production company.
What a great experience for them.
Fantastic. And I'm so happy that the school is doing that, because these students, Koreans are very international, I find anyways, you know, or if they haven't traveled, they're very international minded. And so, and you know, LA is Hollywood. Hollywood is powerful.
Yes.
And lucky for me, I live in that world. So these students will come over, they'll experience it, and hopefully they'll be able to get inspired, come back, create amazing things, and elevate, continue to elevate and teach and pass on.
Well, it seems like you're being the director of the Culture Hub in LA, and also being able to come out here will inspire a whole new group of young students to not look at challenges in the same way that they might have seen before, not see the barriers that other people might say that there are barriers. And it's that kind of risk-taking that you did and breaking boundaries that I think is so inspiring for kids. We all need heroes and mentors to look up to, and it seems that you're doing that for your students.
I tell you, when I was coming up as an artist, as a writer in LA, I looked for mentors. There weren't any. And there were no female or Korean mentors for me who were writers as well. And so I struggled. I had to make my own path. And so whenever I travel or speak at a school, I always pass out my email because I'm available. If I could just talk to you one time or help you edit your book or what have you, I will make the effort.
There are so many things that it seems that you can do pretty much anything. I mean, you've tackled education, you've tackled politics in a sense that you've brought your family from North Korea to safety here in South Korea. You've done a lot. What else do you want to be able to do? Are there some future plans that are just as kind of outrageous as living as a man, or is raising 2 children?
I think raising 2 children, I think they are quite exhausting. They're my joys and my blessings. My next project, I let life lead me. I don't try to force it. I let it organically come and literally hit me in the face and say, and becoming the director of Culture Hub LA, that sort of happened organically. It was presented to me. It seemed like a perfect match, and so I decided, well, let's give it a try. You know, it's so I didn't. When I have to force something, I feel like that's when it's not going to work out. But when it happens and it's a huge gift, just take it. You know, but then take it and do something with it, or shame on me. You know, so that's what I do. I love life. I follow it.
Last but not least, if you had to describe, philosophically speaking, what art means to you, how would you describe that?
Art is peace. Art transcends culture, language, boundaries. Art expands people spiritually, emotionally, physically. it's our hope.
Helie, it's been wonderful to talk with you, and I really feel that all the guests that I've had on the interview really kind of dig deep within themselves and share their reflections on their life with our audience in 188 countries. And to have you talk about some of the things that you've gone through and also be so vulnerable, I'm really appreciative. So thank you so much for coming on, and it's been a pleasure.
Thanks, sister.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. 감사합니다. Thank you.
감사합니다.